U.S. President Donald Trump has been outlining more of his second-term policies during his first full day in office. That's including his plans to address the war in Ukraine, which he's pledged to end. Trump said he would increase sanctions on Russia if President Vladimir Putin refuses to negotiate with Kyiv. He also said Europe should be spending more to assist Ukraine, and he called on China's President Xi Jinping to help resolve the conflict. Trump said he would be speaking soon to the leaders of Ukraine and Russia.
President Zelensky would like to have peace. He's told me that very strongly. He'd like to have peace, but it takes two to tango. We'll see what happens.
When will you meet with President Putin?
Anytime they want, I'll meet. I'd like to see that end. Millions of people are being killed, and they're being killed. It's a vicious situation.
And joining me now is DW correspondent Max Zander in Washington, D.C. It's good to see you again. Trump again here making clear that he plans to push for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine. How much has this war been looming over the beginning of Trump's presidency?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, not that much. This was one of the election promises that Donald Trump made on the way to the White House, pretty much. He stated that he would end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours. And as of now, he is at least 36 hours late, I would say. Ukraine is probably the biggest geopolitical issue in the world right now, and it wasn't mentioned clearly during his inauguration speech. It wasn't mentioned during the inauguration rally. The only time Ukraine came up in these first days was when present correspondents, members of the press questioned him about it, and he was simply reacting to their questions there. And from what we're hearing up until now, he didn't really share any insight or a concrete plan. He was merely reacting in terms of the sanctions. Asked about sanctions, he said, yes, I would consider this. About meeting with Putin, he would also react and say he would consider this. He has made some interesting statements that really make you wonder how much this huge issue has taken a priority for his administration. Right now, he made exaggerated claims about the death toll, both on the Russian and the Ukrainian side. He made exaggerated claims about the discrepancy between what the U.S. is paying and what NATO members are paying, or the rest of NATO is paying, also confusing NATO and EU. So it really seems that this is not a real priority for the Trump administration right now. And it's seemingly, in this exchanges with press, it seems like he's trying to distance himself. But what we also know is that the Trump team reportedly is working on policy to help negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, some good faith measures for Russia should it comply, should it be willing to negotiate, and sanctions on the other side, as we heard before.
Okay, so the war in Ukraine, maybe not looming over beginning of Trump's presidency, but the beginning of Trump's presidency seems to be looming over Ukraine in that sense. You've reported for DW from the beginning on the war in Ukraine. What do you think these first few days are how they're being perceived in Kyiv?
Well, I think that the leadership definitely is looking towards Washington, D.C. and following very closely what is happening here, if they're not already in touch on these issues in further detail. The people of Ukraine want an end to the war. They want an end to the fighting. They want their occupied territories back, including Crimea. They want security guarantees and justice for war crimes, for example, committed by Russia. Trump, on the other hand, probably wants something different. He wants peace too, but not necessarily just peace. He wants to close this chapter, wants to stop sending weapons to Ukraine. But I suppose in Ukraine, the Ukrainians know that they cannot fight this on their own. They need help of Europe. They need the help of European nations. They need the help of the United States. The United States is the single biggest donor of military aid. So I guess the Ukrainians still hope that perhaps Trump, being this self-perceived strongman, being this unpredictable, potentially could have an effect which comes to their favor and results in Trump giving the Ukrainians what they need to win the war should Russia not comply with what Trump is asking them for.
Okay, the first few hints of what Trump's policy on Ukraine could be in the coming years. DW correspondent Max Zander in Washington for us. Thank you.